Hi guys and welcome. Today I'm going to be trying out the second Dior Quint that I picked up from the Dior Fall Makeup collection. Last week I put up a video using the one in Wild Beige, and that's the outside packaging of that one. And today I'm going to be using the one called Shocking Pink. And the main reason that I picked this up, I haven't tried this one out yet, was for mainly the 4 shades on the outside, not necessarily the fuchsia shade that's in the middle, but I still think it's going to be really pretty. So let's get started with this full face of Dior. Overall it's going to be a pink makeup look. And I'm going to start with the Dior Forever, the Velvet Veil. I used this in the other video I did as well, and I haven't actually got a lot of this product left. Now, this one here is probably more suited for those with combination to oily skin, and they do have another one that would probably be more suited for those with normal to dry skin. So I've let that primer sit for a couple of minutes, and today I'm going to use the Dior Forever. This is the foundation stick. This is absolutely beautiful, and I've worn this many times since I first reviewed it. I did a dedicated video on this, and I also show it, I think, in natural light as well. So I'll pop the link up there if you want to take a more sort of detailed look at this, but I absolutely love it. And I'm just going to blend it in using the Victoria Beckham. This is the buffer brush. Now the other thing with this foundation stick, you can build it up to, I would say it's a solid medium finish, but normally I just start off with one stripe, forehead, cheek, and just through there, and then just build up a little bit more if I think it needs it. I just think that coverage is really beautiful, but I'm just going to add a little bit more through there and there, and just build it up slightly more. And every time that I put this foundation stick on, I'm always amazed at how beautiful it makes my skin look. With Dior, I think their base products, foundation products are just stunning. Now I'll do my eyebrows and eyeshadow primer off camera, but for the concealer, I'm going to use the Dior Forever one. So eyebrows and eyeshadow primer is on, and I always wear eyeshadow primer because I have oily skin, so I also have oily eyelids, and if I didn't use a primer, then the eyeshadow, any eyeshadow, is just not going to last. And I've also powdered under my eyes as well, and I've used the new Dior Forever. This is the Nude Matte Filter. There's also a Radiant one as well, and I'm going to use that on the rest of my face in a minute. But before I do that, I'm going to put on some bronzer, and I'm going to use one of the, now these are called the Contour 6. There were 4 that were released last year. This one is in the shade 02, and this is a bronzer, not really a contour. It's more warmer, and it also says that on their website as well. And what I love about this is it works so well with my oily skin, because even though it's in the stick formula, it really does stay put all day. So I'm going to use the Sonia G. This is the sheer buffer brush. Now this is one of the travel size ones, and I'm just going to sweep over the stick and just put a small amount on. This actually has quite a lot of pigment. Now you can actually put this over the top of powder as well if you want to. I use it either way. It's just today I thought I'd put it on before I put on the powder. So now I'm going to powder my face using the new Dior powder, and I'm just using a Victoria Beckham brush. And just sweep that powder on. I've mentioned it a few times now about this powder, but it is beautiful. It claims on the Dior website that it is blurring, and it is. It's really gorgeous. And it also just makes your skin feel silky smooth once you put it on as well. So now let's take a look at this Dior palette. This is the one in Shocking Pink, and the sleeves on these are really well made. They're quite sturdy, they're quite thick, and they're also lined inside as well. And the shades of these sleeves match the middle shade in the Dior Quints. So here she is, close up, the Quint Shocking Pink, and I think it is beautiful. Now the middle shade is definitely a pop of colour. It is a fuchsia, but the shades, the other 4 shades, is what made me purchase this. I think they look gorgeous. Now these Quints have 6.5 grams of product. They are made in France, and they have a shelf life from 6 months from a date of opening. Now I have seen comments about this 6-month shelf life, and this isn't a new thing from Dior. So it's not because they've changed the formula. That 6-month shelf life has been there for a long time, and These last a lot longer than 6 months. I've had some a couple of years now, some more of the older formula obviously, but with the newer ones, and they work just as well as the day that I purchased them. So here are the shades swatch from left to right, top to bottom, and the middle shade last. So first of all, we've got an ivory rosy shade. This is a topper. Next, we've got a rose gold, which is a shimmer. Then we've got a mid-tone taupe, and it's almost got, there's a little hint of purple in there as well. Then we've got the darker brown shade, and last is this middle shade. So you've got the pop color, it is matte, and that is a fuchsia. So from the swatches, the payoff and the pigment is really, really beautiful. Now this is definitely a pop of color, and I will use this a little bit on my eyes, but I'm going to mainly use these shades here. And what I may do with the middle shade as well is I'll probably use that as a blush today. So first of all, I'm going to start off with this taupe shade here. I've got my Rapha number 14 brush, and I'm just going to go in very lightly to begin with. And I'm going to put this all over my lid, through the crease, and up onto the brow bone as well. Now this is blending out really beautifully, and even though I went in very lightly, it's actually giving really good payoff. Now I'm just going to stay with that shade, use a Rapha brush, and I'm going to put some of this on my lower lash line. Then I'm going to stay with the Rapha 14 brush, and I'm going to go into this deepest shade here. And I think what I'll do is put some in the outer corner. And I'll also pop a little bit up onto the brow bone as well. So both of the shades that I've used so far, they are just giving really beautiful payoff. I'm going to go back with the Rapha brush, the smaller one, the 03, and I'm going to put this on my lower lash line as well, but just on the outer third. Then I'm going to take the Rapha number 02, and I'm going to go into this shade and just put it over the rest of my lid through here. This has got really beautiful payoff as well. Then I've wiped down the Rapha 03 brush, and I'm going to stay with that same shade, and I'm also going to put a little bit of this on the lower lash line as well. And then over the top of the shade here, that was this one, I'm now going to go over that with that topper shade. And the 4 shades that I've just used without using this shade here are absolutely beautiful. It's a really gorgeous, cool toned color story. Now I'm also going to put a little bit of this on my eyes as well, just to see what it's like and to show you what it's going to look like on the eye as well. I'm going very, very carefully, and I'm using a super fluffy brush because it tended to be fairly pigmented when I swatched it. So I'm also tapping a little bit out on my hand as well, and I'm just going to go very easy. And I'm just going to pop that through here. So very lightly in the pan, and tapped a bit on my hand as well. And there is still payoff. But if you do it like that, it's actually not as scary as what you think it may be. And I'm not too sure whether to use this as a blush or not. If I do, I'm going to have to go very carefully and use one of my softest brushes, although I do think it will look really beautiful as a blush. Well, now that that's on, I actually think that looks quite beautiful, and so much better than I thought it was going to look. So I think you could definitely go a lot more bold with the shade if you wanted to, but there's probably a lot of you out there that wouldn't want to do that. But you can definitely just put a little bit on, just go carefully with it, and it blends out really beautifully. So altogether, I think it looks really pretty. So here is the finished eye look. And now that I've got it all on, I'd have to have a look back at the other Dior Quints that I've purchased this year. But I think this may be one of their best ones, perhaps, that they've released. This cool toned palette, I think, is just beautiful. And even that fuchsia is really pretty as long as you put it on quite subtle. But like I was saying, there may be some of you that may want that really bold fuchsia look, and you definitely get it if you use a brush that wasn't quite as fluffy as mine, because it swatched really well and I just used the tiniest amount on my eyes. But altogether, I just think it is really stunning. Now for the eyeliner, I used the Dior one. It is the one in matte taupe, and I think that suits this color story absolutely perfectly. So now let's put on some blush, and I've decided that I am going to use this middle shade. I have got a brush. It is a Chukahodo one, and it is just super soft. Now what I'm going to do is tap in very, very gently, because you can see the pickup, and then I'm just going to tap a little bit on my hand as well. I can always pick up a little bit more if I want to, but I just want to go very easy. So I'm just going to slowly build this shade up. So tap in lightly again, a little bit on the back of my hand, just to be on the safe side. So I think that is just gorgeous. Now I did go in very carefully with the light tap and then tapping on the back of my hand, and this is a super fluffy brush, very soft. What I'm going to do on the other side, and I hope this doesn't go pear-shaped, I'm just going to tap straight from there very lightly and straight onto my cheek. And you actually don't need to tap on your hand, as long as you just go very lightly into the palette. I'm hardly touching it, and just build it up that way. So I just think that is gorgeous. Now I'm also going to use one of the Dior luminizers. This is the one in pink, and I'm just using a very soft eyeshadow brush for this, and just put a little bit of this on the cheekbones. And I didn't pick up one of the lipsticks in this new collection, so today I'm going to use one of the, these are fairly new, the Dior, this is in the formula, the Lip Veil. So here is the finished look, and altogether I think this is really, really stunning. The eyeshadow Quint has sort of surprised me and sort of not. I knew the 4 shades around the outside of it would be absolutely beautiful, but that middle shade is really gorgeous too. And I wasn't too sure, and I just used a soft sweep of it through there as you saw me use it, and I think it looks really beautiful. Now personally I wouldn't use this shade on my lower lash line, because when I tend to do that with these type of bright pink fuchsia shades, it tends to give my eyes a bit of a sore look. But the way that I've done it through here, I just think it is really pretty, and the rest of this color story is just absolutely gorgeous. And I think I may prefer this one over the wild beige one, and as I said earlier, this could be one of my favorite Quints for the year so far from Dior. It is really beautiful. Now the lip veil that I used, I just put a little bit on, and it gives a sheer wash of color, but you can build these up. But for this look, I just wanted to keep the shade just fairly soft. Now I also think that middle shade in the Quint worked really well as a blush. So you saw me begin with, I tapped very lightly into the Quint, then tapped it again on the back of my hand. But if you go in very lightly with a soft fluffy brush, then you don't really need to tap it on the back of your hand as well. I think if you just go lightly and pop it on your cheeks, I think it works perfectly that way, and then you just build it slowly from there. But if you were going to use it and you didn't want that bright pop of fuchsia pink, then I definitely wouldn't go in with a brush that is more dense than the one that I use. So if you've got one that is really fluffy and soft, then that's the ideal one, I think, to use that middle shade as a blush. But altogether, I just think it's really beautiful. And of course, the foundation stick and the powder, it's all looking really, really gorgeous. So let me know in the comments below if you picked up this eyeshadow Quint, or if you think perhaps that you've got something similar in your collection already and you may want to do this eye look as well. So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.